We don't dim, we don't shrink, we don't play small. Stand tall, stand proud, let them feel it all. Take up space, step into your power.
Welcome back. In part two, Leandra reminds us that healing, leadership, softness, strength, and purpose can all exist at the same time.
Is there is
Mhm.
there ways in which people can learn more about what there is around them just to explore nature?
I mean, there's lots of ways you can connect. You can connect with groups that are intentionally connecting people to the outdoors, that are hosting events and creating space for people to explore and try different things. There's apps like iNaturalist and Seek and Merlin that help you identify plants and animals. So let's just say you went on a walk around the corner. You want to know what kind of flower you walk by every day. You pull out your Seek app and then you start to learn it yourself. If you're looking more for a community-based experience, there are organizations like Outdoor Afro, Latino Outdoors that are creating space. There's so many more. I think that, those were kind of some of the organizations that kind of started some of that movement. But since then, it's boomed, and there's so many different people that are connecting people to the outdoors in all of these different ways. So I would say just looking up your local groups. I don't know all the names and all of the different groups, but there's different ways that you could connect. I know here in Atlanta, there's Hiking with Benji, and there's a ton of people in Atlanta specifically, but that's where I live now. So I would
Yes.
say if you're not looking to connect with community and other people, there are apps and other ways that you can find. Like there's park apps if you want to figure out your local state parks and national parks. So doing a little research and figuring out what is the way that you want to engage. Do you want to be with other people? Maybe you're looking for a group. Do you want to just explore and learn by yourself? Maybe an app or a something that you're just try. I also paint outside, so it doesn't have to be an activity that you think you should be doing outside. It could just be things
Mm.
that you enjoy to do outside.
What are your activities?
I love to do art outside, so I love nature journaling, which is one of my favorite activities. If there was someone asking me what should I start with, I would say grab a notebook and go outside. So, it could be for scientific observation, or it could just be to learn and paint or reflect and write poems. I also paint, so in my backyard, I'll bring out my easel and all of my paints and just kind of, do my thing out there. But I enjoy bird watching is another really easy activity that you can get into. You don't need binoculars. They make it more fun, but you could just do it with your vision and your hearing. There's ways that you can kind of jump into bird watching. I love hiking, which I feel like, depending on my audience, I don't always say hiking. Sometimes I say I'm going for a walk outside because
Okay.
when I say hiking, I think people think of like a really steep mountain and it's intense and you've got like an axe. And so, and just enjoying a nice walk is always nice. And I don't know, I do a lot of things outside. Kayaking is really fun. And my boyfriend and some other friends are certified ACA instructors, and so feeling secure that I have someone that knows what to do outside.
Kayaking is something that I definitely say that's not for Black people, but
Yeah.
that's why when you said my boyfriend is in, you said he's an instructor.
He is a level 2 instructor, and so is Simone. Fun fact from Color My Outdoors, they both went through the same program and became level 2 instructors. And so they can give you the 101 on how to kayak. They can help you get back in your boat if they need to. And it is growing in representation. So I would say I know 15 or more Black or Brown certified ACA instructors, which is kind of a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah, I was like, that's a lot because hate to say it, but I don't know how to swim. So that would never be what I want to do. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, heck no. But I also think of kayaking as rapid water. You know, it's
Yeah.
very clear, small, smooth water, but that's not what I
Uh-huh.
think of. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to even put myself in that situation. But
Right.
I know that there are steps to anything. But that's our first thought is, what's the worst that could happen?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What we gonna be doing? I'm not getting in the water.
Right,
So
girl, right. The water? No, ma'am. No, thank
yeah.
you. So that's
Yeah.
real cool. The kayaking, I love that side of life. And I think that more people should think of that as an activity. So one thing I admire about your journey is that you don't just speak about resilience. You've actually lived it physically, mentally, and emotionally. So, as both a board director and a participant in the historic trifecta wilderness medicine training,
Hmm.
what did that experience teach you about leadership, resilience, and representation?
Well, first and foremost, it taught me we out here. So that room was so there was so much melanin in that room. I just felt like I was on a cloud. And I've been to wilderness first aid trainings before, that, I was the only Black person, only person of color, and it felt like such a different vibe. Like, the inside jokes and some of the other things were not inclusive. And at times I'm like, I actually might be a little offended.
Hmm.
So to be in a space that was curated, by Color My Outdoors in partnership, with Knowles and with Solo Training, this was I think that I have never been in a space where all of us are all wanting the same thing. We have all of these different people from different walks of life. So within such a melanated room, there was a lot of diversity in that room, and age and experience and skill set, whatever activity they connect people to. There was a demand for the wilderness first aid training because people want to know how to manage risk when they're in the outdoors. No one wants to bring out their community and not know what to do if something happens. And so there was not only that, but a lot of us had taken a wilderness first aid course before or were some sort of healthcare provider, whether it was a caregiver. And so there was this exchange of experiences where not only are the instructors teaching us, but people in the class are naming out different skill sets and different considerations. Hey, make sure when you're patting people's heads, you're thinking about weaves, sew-ins, bonnets, cultural relevance in terms of like, is it appropriate for you to touch somebody's hair without permission? And like just kind of getting into those topics that in a predominantly white space we didn't talk about because that's not something that's always on their radar or always to consider. Um, and for me, the most pivotal moment was one where we were practicing some of the scenarios where you go out and help a patient. And some of us were marked with bruises. And there was a moment where we could stand next to each other and see what those bruises looked like on different skin tones. Because, in medicine, I feel like there's often a gap of what these things look like on dark skin. And so
Mm,
you won't be able to recognize certain things because there is no reference to it.
right.
And so that was unique to this class. I've never seen, you know, I don't know if it would have happened in my last class, but I've never seen a space where we took a second. Hey, let's actually just talk about the colors of bruising and what you should be looking for in different skin tones. So that for me, there was a piece of cultural relevance that I've never seen in other trainings that I've done, wilderness first aid or CPR. And that was really important because these are the people that we are going to be taking into the outdoors. These are the things that we need to know and need to consider, um, as leaders. So, all the way down to like patting somebody's hair down and knowing what you might be feeling when you have your hands in their hair, or some of the things that you want to talk about and consent to ahead of time.
And then it's like, but what do we do? And you don't even realize that that is a constriction or
Yeah.
it's something that's going to hinder you. That's another reason why we don't like the water or don't
Yep.
like the wilderness because we're trying to be cute or,
Mhm.
trying to maintain this same person. And you really can't take the same person with you out there.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that's something that I would have considered to take along, like having
Yeah.
a guide to take along with me to say, hey, make sure I'm safe here, make sure that's what makes us not want to do these things.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a true barrier. Like not feeling like you know what to do is enough. Like, because what if we say, um, we're going to go out hiking and one of us twists our ankles and we don't know what to do. So, we might not have service. We would only have the skills that we have for ourselves. And so for some of these leaders, they're taking out 10 or 20 people to different places, to waterfalls and things. And you'd be surprised how quickly a very gentle hike could change into a completely different scenario. I've had people like slip getting into water, hit their head, twist your ankle, roll down a hill, like just things that you're like, what just happened? But
Yeah.
it's an everyday thing when you're doing things in the outdoors. And so it's so important to be equipped with what do you do if that happens?
Mhm.
And I think in the same way, you're preparing people ahead of time. You're talking about these are the risks when we do this activity. You want to look out for snakes. You want to look above you, make sure you're watching where your hands are. When I lead groups, I also make sure that people feel confident in what they have on. If you're a Black woman, I might advise you on how to wear your hair. If you don't want certain things, like I might hike with my afro out and I know I'm coming home with tree branches and leaves, maybe bugs in my hair. And so for some people, they don't want that. So I'm gonna tell you ahead of time so you're not surprised. And I want to make sure that you have your head wrap, your swim cap, whatever thing that you need to feel comfortable so that you don't feel compromised in that way. That's not the barrier. So that's I also think that's a part of risk management where you're making sure that people feel comfortable with what they have and also comfortable in your leadership to say, like, I have an issue or I have an allergy or I have this thing that I want you to know so that we can keep each other safe.
Right, right. And with that being said, wilderness medicine training, it pushes people mentally and physically. So
Absolutely.
what moment during the trifecta experience challenged you the most? And did it transform you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I think being in the presence of so many people in itself it had just redefined for me what does it mean to be in a space that is culturally relevant in terms of wilderness medicine. I hadn't seen anything like this before, and so I was like, "Oh, you've just changed how I want to do these types of trainings moving forward."
Hmm.
I think the moment though that kind of stuck with me, we were doing a drill. I don't remember the name of the specific maneuver, but you're basically as a group lifting somebody off the ground and moving them as if you need to put them, like, let's just say they broke their leg or they hurt their spine, they cannot move themselves. We would lift them as a group and take them to the tent. And so we did these breakout groups for this activity. We had to pick who was going to lay down and who was going to instruct the group. And someone in my group was like, "You should do it. You instruct us." And I take leadership so seriously. And I'm like, I don't always jump into the role, but when I'm in it, I want to make sure that I can deliver. And so I did my best to make sure that everyone understood what we were trying to do. Everyone trusted and knew the person across from them because, you want to interlace your fingers, almost like one of the spirit tunnel lines, so
Hmm.
that the person underneath you also feels like they're not going to get dropped. So like this is a drill, but we want to also make sure that we're not going to hurt somebody while we're trying to practice this thing. And I felt like we did it so succinctly that it felt so natural. And I think the thing for me that stood out was like, it would have been really scary if this was the real scenario. But I was happy that I had the opportunity to practice how to lead a group of people. In this training, we knew each other, but in real life, you might just have a group of people standing around you that you need to instruct on what to do so that we can get somebody to a safe point. And that could be really, it's kind of scary when you think about it. Like you're almost like, I don't want to be in that scenario, but knowing that you have the skill set is really comforting. So that for me was a huge takeaway from this training. Just how much I trusted my classmates and how deeply we really took this training seriously, as if we will be using it to keep people safe in the future.
Well, they say you practice like it's real life.
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
it's real crappy, you're not gonna save
You're
anybody.
not gonna know what to do. Yep.
So your practice is very telling of what you will do and how you will perform. So
Mhm.
good for you and your team. I love to hear that. I want to play a real quick game with you.
Mhm.
It's just a little lightning round, so it's going to be quick answers, not too quick,
Okay.
yeah, quick, but like a few examples. So sunrise or sunset,
Ooh, sunset.
mountains or ocean,
That's a hard one. I'm gonna have to go with mountains.
silence or music outside,
Silence.
solo adventure or group energy.
Group energy.
And one word that defines your season right now.
Growth.
I love that. I'm gonna go back to something real quick as far as the mountains or the ocean. When you said it's hard, I feel like it's
Yeah.
hard too, just because they're both beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
Why did you pick mountains?
I picked the mountains. I always have felt called to the mountains, and most places that I've lived have had a mountain range, which I realize is it's kind of a privilege. And I think they're beautiful. I like the landscape. I like seeing how the tree line and the animals change as you go up higher into the mountain. I'm just fascinated by all of it. And like you, I'm not a strong swimmer, so if I go to the ocean, I'm probably not getting in. Like it's nice to look at, but with the mountain, I'm probably going to actively be doing something and exploring. And on the beach, I'm more of a like, let me sit in the sand and be cute, which is nice too, but I would probably go for the mountain.
I just want to say, you know what I love the most about this conversation is that like at the Goddess League and with my book, it's like I wanted to help women to reclaim confidence in rooms
Mm,
that wasn't built for them. And
Yeah.
her work helps people reclaim peace in spaces that they were told weren't for them. So it's like
Hmm.
a different setting, but it's the same mission. And
Absolutely.
I love how it like merges the two together because you think one conversation is happening, but it's multiple conversations happening. Something that you have to speak up for yourself.
Hmm.
Stand firm in what you believe. These are all things that really can be put into a lot of situations, if not
Absolutely.
all. For the woman watching right now who feels
Mhm.
disconnected from herself, what would you want her to know?
I would say to her that you aren't alone in that feeling. And it's really common to not feel connected to yourself. And in some ways, I feel like this society is designed to disconnect us from ourselves in specific ways, especially as Black women. But I think further from that, I would say be gentle with yourself and give yourself grace and celebrate the things that you are doing right now and the ways that you're showing up. And be brave and do it scared. So sometimes I think I feel disconnected from myself because I'm not living in my truth because I'm scared to fail. And that is where that dissatisfaction is coming from for me. And so I have to remind myself to just do it, be brave, do it scared, and you're going to be proud of yourself in the end. But most of all, outside of that, I would say you're not alone and be gentle with yourself.
And I appreciate you for sharing your heart, your wisdom, and your journey with us today. This is really a great conversation. And I have to
It
say,
really was. Honestly, this has been, I'm like, okay, we got to hang out. We got to hang out more, and do some things.
listen, because you got me over here. Real interest is peaked, honey. It's peaked.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn in this wilderness. That's not for me. Okay. I don't do wilderness bugs, lions, snakes, tigers. Like I'm thinking about all the bad animals, but
Yeah.
that's all the things to say. I don't want to do it, but seeing you, it just I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
good vibe. So I
Yeah.
truly believe that conversations like this is there to remind women that healing, leadership, softness, strength, and purpose can all exist at the same time. Okay.
Absolutely.
To everyone watching, I want to thank you all for tuning in to Chat with 6'4" Goddess. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, continue taking up space unapologetically. And I want to say, Leandra, welcome to the Goddess League.
Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Bye.